to play on the old box accordion whilst waiting it to go live, and it is now live. Oh, there's an image in front of there too. So hi boardies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. I'm here with Olly. That's Don't Be Bored. And we're here to discuss something that Olly has come up with. Yes, you might be wondering, why am I hosting it if you're not watching this on Patch Day at 8 p.m. GMT time? That's because I'm hosting it live on this occasion, and Olly is showing this off to everybody. So by all means, check out wherever you want to check this out from. Let us know in the comments of wherever you're watching this from. And if it is live, we'll post some comments and stuff as well. So Olly, tell us about yourself in terms of what you've been up to in the last time since we've spoken, and your inspiration behind this top 10 that you have really made me have a brain crunch over. Go over to you.
To be fair, since we last spoke, I got a large delivery of games, expansions and stuff, which unboxed on the channel, and yeah, they are taking my time. And then also I then got these arrive today, which is an unmatched set and Quicks Longo, which I'm going to be looking forward to diving into probably at the weekend now. I came up with the top 10 because there's a couple of games that I own, and it always comes down to I love to play them, but I would never recommend someone actually buy them. Probably because of price, normally. There's some on my list that aren't because of that, but how have you gone about this? Have you actually ordered them, or have you just got 10?
So I came up. I did tell Olly that on Discord a few weeks ago, perhaps Cindy told me. I kind of very quickly scribbled down a list. It hasn't changed much, but I have got rid of some, changed them around, merged some, shall we say. And I'm using an envelope, back of an envelope. I've used spreadsheets, and now onto the envelope to tell you. Each of them, I've given a different style of reason, if that makes sense. And I'll tell you about each of those reasons behind them. So they're relatively unique reasons. So that's that list, basically. I am familiar with your 17 is cheating, including 6 tiny expansions. So there's that. Yeah, I had something arrive yesterday or 2 days ago, a preview thing. I was expecting something from you today, but that's coming tomorrow, I think. Bizarrely, of all things, actually. And then this weekend, in terms of gaming, yes, I've been averaging about 9 hours of gaming already in March every day. And this weekend, it's the inaugural SlagCon. So that's Simon Lavender AmassGames convention, the very first one. So we've got a number of people coming to that. Because my birthday's landed where COVID is, it's been a bit tricky. And in fact, there's another gamer who I did a video with recently. It's his birthday the day after as well. So it's a weekend, should be really good. Next year, of course, it'll be SlagCon 2, if not sooner. In fact, no, SlagCon 2, I think, is next month, but that's a whole other matter. So yeah, 46 games I think I've played in the last couple of weeks since we spoke, because something else came up. Many post-midnight sessions, and we're talking midweek frequently, but I'm looking forward to this list. I don't think there'll be a single crossover, to be honest. And I've also ensured that there are games where I didn't necessarily want to mention someone else's game in case they're like, well, I've got that game, why are you dissing it? That's not what I'm trying to get at.
Yep, fair.
So yeah, but Quicks, by the way, I don't rate as a highly rated roll and write game. I give it a 6 out of 10. I do have my playlist for top roll and writes, 25 plus on there or something. But Quicks, I dislike because it can really slow down. There's slow down moments. But Quicks Big Points is 8 out of 10. Have you played Quicks Big Points?
No, I've played the original, and then this one has just turned up.
Yeah, so dice distancing.
8-sided dice. What more can you want, right?
Exactly. There's also, I've played Quicks, a card game as well. Numerous people on the channel are saying, yeah, but you're showing your cards face up, they should be hidden. And I go, yeah, so that's because I'm demonstrating to you what you would do with your cards. So hopefully my Scopa video, people realize what I'm trying to get across. The other expansions, Quicks Gimmicks, I've tried both of them. I've done some, I think, solo playthroughs, so again, solo playthrough playlist, etc. Tell me about Longo. I'll have to talk about that on the next video, whenever that might be. We know it could be in weeks, it could be in months. You never know. I won't talk about gestation periods of various Arc Nova animals or something, but that's a whole other matter. So for number 10, I guess we could start on that. Do you want to go? This is actually the only game I do actually own, funny enough. So I don't know if this is a crossover in terms of an ownership level. I've tried to get more of a humorous one too much later on, just to kind of not peak too early. But away we go. What's your number 10?
So my number 10 is, I thought, well, this is a list I've come up with, so I'm allowed to cheat a little bit. So I have, and I think you've done this from what you said earlier, combined a few things into one. So I've gone for Unlock, Deckscape, Carta Ventura, Micro Macro, or Macro Micro, whichever way around it is.
Micro Macro.
Basically, an escape room style game or something that you can play through once, and then you're done. You're then sat with a box that's either, taking up room on the shelf, or you can't play them again. Now, some of these, like Carta Ventura, you can play through maybe 2 or 3 times quite happily. But most of them, it's once you've played it, the puzzle, or the twist. You don't really want to ever play it again. So I put this as my number 10 games that you want to play, but you don't really have to want to own them. And going to like a board game shop, like cafe, where they've maybe got some, is maybe a great way of actually playing them. Yes,
you did mention Exit there, I don't think, but my very first Exit was probably one of the best ones, which is The Abandoned Cabin. It's amazing how the first, knock out of the park, how good they did with that one. Played it as a 4 with some people who are pretty hardcore gamers in the sense they play a lot, and local game shop. It was the second time it was played, and we managed to get full stars. I think we did about 54 minutes, so we did it in time zone. And there happened to be either somebody else. It's a kind of game shop whereby they have a library, and if you buy a game and like someone's painted up their zombie side and they kind of leave it there, maybe not like a locker, but anyone can play it and everyone respects it well. And to be honest, they even know to look for it. I'm sure they're going to respect it because they now know what it is. But someone did buy another Exit, and it was either a brand new one, and then it was like £2 each or something, or it was the case that someone just played it once, and again didn't ruin anything. I generally haven't ruined my ones. I've ruined some others, but yeah, that's Exit. So I'll talk about my number 10. If by the way, throughout any time there is a crossover, I was thinking we just mention it when the other person says it, unless we get down to like, I don't know, maybe get down to 1 and we know, well, there can be some others. But anyway, so my number 10, this was kind of 11, but then I shifted what was my number 2 to number 1, is You're Bluffing. So this is the game that got me into gaming. It's a very popular one on the channel. I think we spoke about it before. Did we do it?
Briefly, yeah.
So I talk about it a lot. Came out 1985. It's actually the local game shops, their private collection. They're now merging it into their shops collection. And in a mint condition, practically, their one is. I haven't opened the box. But the reason it's in my list isn't so that I do own it, as you know. I might have mentioned I've owned multiple copies. The reason why you might not want to own it is maybe because I've got it, or the fact that, and this is where it's kind of like loosey-goosey around these the higher numbers in a bad way, is I don't need to own any more copies, is what I'm trying to get at. And I still think like, I could get that edition. And that's what I did when I went mad. They were different versions, but I was so tempted to buy the Dutch edition just because. Okay, and that was it. It's called like Toka or Topka or something. And that was it, which is just ridiculous. And actually, Ravensburger, who made it, I don't know if you know about this, they've invested $4.5 million into GameFound.
GameFound, yes, yeah.
So
interesting news, that one.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it's a beta product. I didn't realize GameFound isn't even fully launched yet. So
there it was. It's as close as it's going to be, probably. There might be one extra feature thrown in, but
yeah, I know some of the Kickstarter's launching. I said, how come you went for Kickstarter? And so there's that. So we can move on to number 9. We could either alternate it, or either that might get really confusing. So snake drafting our list might not be the best. But if you want to move on to number 9.
Yep. So my number 9 is a game that I very much enjoy, and I would say it's definitely worth a play, and its expansions are worth a play. But to actually own, maybe not, and that's Welcome to.
Okay.
Now, the reason for this is at the stage I'm at, I've got Welcome to and 5 different expansions. It will not hit the table over Welcome to the Moon. So I would say if someone knew was going to get one, play Welcome to maybe a couple of times, and then just move on to Welcome to the Moon and get that one for your collection. It's 8 maps in one, effectively. So it's a pretty nice one. Have you played it yet?
Not Welcome to the Moon. Again, Welcome to underwhelmed me. It's one of my least favorite flipping rights, if not my least, potentially. I think Quick's the card game perhaps might be my least favorite. None of these are terrible games, by the way. It's just I played so many others and haven't played them prior. But the only one I've played is obviously the follow-up one, and I only played it because it was on Board Game Arena, gave it a go. I wouldn't say it grew on me, but I didn't mind it. But again, the choice of games out there, even today, someone who I've played a lot with online said, "Why don't you game with me more?" And I'm like, I don't have to game with this game if I could be playing something else. And I'm not saying all games are good, all games are bad. All games are well designed, generally speaking, at least ones which are worth playing. But there's always that utility, which I learned about in accountancy years ago, which is about how much to play. Do you want a chocolate bar? Oh, yeah. Do you want another one? Sure. Do you want another one? And it's that kind of thing. Whereas we were playing Tekenu, however you want to pronounce it, Wednesday, which did go late, and actually Tuesday night. And in terms of Fields of Valor, which I've talked about before, they said, "You've played it 52 times," and he hasn't played many of his himself. We did have a viewer, and they popped off again. And so, yeah, the third one I haven't played. I know someone who has it, so that will be played after SlackOn, I think. So probably next Saturday or Saturday after next, basically. So, but my one does involve cards. You might love it. The next game I do give an 8 out of 10 to. So again, you have to kind of think about your games in terms of how much you like them, and that's Love Letter. So Love Letter is, I know, this was when I was like, do I really want to put this on this? I know people who have Love Letter, so I play their copies. The reason I'm putting it, again, it's a different reason every single time, and again, hopefully this makes sense, is you play the games, you have a filler like Love Letter, and suddenly you're like, do I want to be playing this right now? Or let's grab out a filler. People might say maybe Azul's a filler. There's other games which are definitely in the filler category. There's lots we can talk about. Love Letter looks like it's a filler because it's just 16, 18 odd cards, but actually it can take an hour plus, again depending on who you're with. And I've had games go on really late into the night and I'm like, I just want to go home now, and it's like, it's how it is. Oh, let's play it to a cube shorter, or suddenly it's speeding up. No, because you're up to 3 out of 4 cubes, then everyone else gets the cubes. And generally speaking, it has this bizarre catch-up mechanism whereby it doesn't seem like it can occur, but it does, even though there's no statistics, I think, behind it. And that's why it just looks like it's almost like an invasive species. It doesn't look like it's going to do much. It's cute, but actually, and also it's the fact that I'm just going to play this and randomly try and, stun you. I've played the deluxe. I've played multiple copies bundled into one. I've played numerous editions. I've played obviously the original ones. There's a certain factory edition which doesn't even have a full BGG branding for it. But do you own Love Letter? I have a feeling you may, do you?
It's comfortably in my top 10 games of all time.
Okay.
So it would be as far from this list as possible for me. For everyone else that I know, they probably don't need to own it because I've got it. I think the catch-up mechanism is the fact that if you've got more points, people pick on you.
Yeah.
But in this game, it's so quick and you're eliminated, but it's only for like a minute. I don't have a problem with that. It's when you're eliminated for a long period of time I have issues. But the fact that you can be out on your first card, but within like a minute or two you're back in. So yeah.
Generally speaking, I agree with that. I mean, I have seen longer eliminations, but I agree. Generally speaking, those mechanisms mean you shouldn't be out for very long at all. The fact that you are getting eliminated is definitely something people don't like. If you're introducing a game to someone, probably not Love Letter, knowing there's elimination in it. But hopefully my points were valid about it isn't a 20-minute game. People think it is, and it is more like 45. Like I said, an hour and a quarter. I've experienced more than once, quite a few. It depends who you play with. And again, if they're like, and 6 to 7 minutes later, and they still haven't got there, which, yeah, it is what it is. Like I said,
that's why that's why I like Love Letter, is the fact that it can be played, and often is here when we play it, at least 20 minutes. And then you go, let's play again. Let's play again. And that's how it gets to the hour long. And but I think that's a good sign when you want to play again straight away, and then it turns from a filler into a not filler, an evening filler rather than a gap filler as such. But
No, I agree. Like I said, 8 out of 10, my average rating is 6.3, 6.32. So 8 is, really up above that. It's not, like I said, I'm not dissing it. We're not saying we hate games. All these games, they're all at least an 8 out of 10. There's one, which I'll talk about another time, but it's on that list. But yeah, let's move on to number 8. Let's see if this is in your top 10. I don't think any others are probably in your top 10. I don't even know your top 10. So I've tried to keep that quite distant at a reason. So yeah.
So my number 8 is a game you have mentioned, but it's not on your list.
How do you know it's on my list?
Well, it's not been on your list yet. Sorry.
All right. Okay.
So in the last one, you mentioned Azul.
Okay.
Now, I'm saying you don't need to own Azuls.
Fine.
Own one of them.
Yes.
I have all 3. I know there's a 4th one, but that's not here yet, realistically. I know there's 3, and I own 3. Realistically, only 1, maybe 2 of them get to the table.
Okay.
That central choosing mechanism that makes them all similar and like the family of games of where you're taking some colored tiles from the middle. I love that mechanism. And they are different. But just pick the one that you find the best, because otherwise they're kind of too similar to have all 3 in a collection, I'd say.
I think the other issue with Sintra, I think Tom Bass in particular likes Sintra the best. The trouble with Sintra, I think, is just it's to be too dark on the front cover. I think it just doesn't, and that's what obviously they had to go back to, maybe with some feeling, I don't know. But I think people definitely kind of pass by that one compared to the others, just based on looks.
It's the more gamery. It's the more gamery of the 3, because you've got that option to pass, and you think, and you teach it, and you're like, and you pass. What a wasted turn! No, because you use that to screw other people over. So it's really mean, and I think maybe that meanness means I don't like it as much, because if you ever teach it to someone new, you can screw them over when they can't even see it coming.
Yeah.
I think Summer Pavilion, the 3rd one, is my favorite, just because it is bright and colorful. And you've got the bonus wild ones, which it feels a bit more forgiving and a bit more friendly to play, but still having the choices of Azul sort of thing. Which is your favorite?
So I was going to say the original's my favorite personally, and that's, I think, due to the fact it's the missus, not mine. So it's like, yeah, okay, so let's put it on the shelf like that. We have the first edition. We were one of the first to get the first of the 29,000 print or something left in the UK. So we've still got the original cardboard tile and stuff. We've obviously have the expansions, got the promos, we've got the really hard to find extra factory tiles and stuff like that. But I was going to ask you, so people are like desperate to get them off me. But what's your view? I mean, have you heard about those extra factory tiles?
Yeah, I'd seen some of the different promos and stuff like that. I actually, one of the Essens I went to, they had some of the bits for sale, and it was it was do I buy this or do I buy another, like basically use the money towards another game, and another game won out. I don't think I played the original enough to have warranted paying it, so I'm not too upset I missed out. But you know, promos are always nice, aren't they?
So which one did you have? Which other game did you pick up to do that then, so to speak?
I can't remember. It was we're talking a good
5 years ago.
At least 3 years. At least
3.5. Yeah,
at least 3.5 since the last Essen I went to. Maybe 4.5 the one before that.
I'm guessing you won't be going this year, next year maybe, or?
Yeah, not going to be going this year, but hopefully next year. Fingers crossed.
Of course, P&O Ferries is a factor, but how have you gone there before?
I've flown both times that I went. Once it was because there's 2 cities you can fly to. Yeah. The first time I went for the further one and realised that it's then like an hour train.
Dusseldorf?
I think Dusseldorf, and then there's
Dortmund.
It might have been Dortmund that was slightly closer.
I have been, okay.
But I thought flying over just that was easiest, and with a very empty suitcase for the way home.
Was it okay to travel back in? Like, were you worried about games getting damaged? Did you bring much back?
I used all my clothes basically to effectively bubble wrap all of the games,
Okay.
and then I also had, for the ones that I really cared about, like my copy of a game that is going to come up on the list later on, so I won't say it. I had that in my carry-on because I was like, no, I am protecting this.
Okay. And did you go for 4 days before, or was it quite overwhelming?
Yeah, I went for the full time, and the first days, the weekdays, definitely the best if you can go to Essen.
Yeah, we went Thursday, Friday.
Saturday, absolutely manic, but still a lot of fun. Sunday started to be quieter, but then you're like, oh, what time do I need to leave? Keep checking your watch. Do I play this game? Do I play that one? Do I have enough time? So the Sunday's a bit awkward sort of thing. It's not like at UK Games Expo, you're like, oh, if I leave 10 minutes late, it doesn't matter. You've got to catch your flight or your train home or however you're doing it.
Missing those trains, another 50 minutes wait. And are you going this year as well, or probably not for Expo?
Maybe UK Games Expo this year, not Essen, unfortunately.
Okay, so when you went to Essen, did you stay in Essen, and how far in advance did you book your accommodation?
The first time it was kind of not last minute, but relatively late. Like all the good hotels had been booked, so we just got a cheap Airbnb, like literally the other side of Essen. But the public transport, like the trams or whatever they are, absolutely brilliant through Essen, so no problem there. And then the next time we got a hotel that was literally round the corner from the train station. So each morning, like 5-minute train hop down to the Messer halls, which was absolutely phenomenal. So yeah.
Wow.
What about yourself?
So we've driven. So yeah, we drive and stop off, and going to do that next time as well. And I might mention you came back with 95 games in the car. Still getting through them. So.
I had slightly less in my suitcase.
Yeah. So you said who have you been with on your pride trips? And you said you've also been obviously multiple times. You said like the first time. So which other years and who else have you been going with?
So it was, what was it? Maybe 18, 19 were the years that I went. Went with a couple of my friends from uni, Ed and Mark, who I would say I initially dragged along, but I think they ended up absolutely loving it. Yeah, it's always good when that works out sort of thing.
Okay, well, you can definitely see a picture of me there because I'm wearing a big chicken hat, so you might recognise me there. It got quite
nice.
hot, but yeah, with all these conventions, I always wear the same golf shorts. It just seems to be a tradition. I wear these grey golf shorts. So that
iconic.
Was yeah, I don't know why it is. Oh, well, actually, strangely enough, when I started getting more into gaming, it was after a golf evening. Not golf. I was playing golf after work, and then I went to play gaming at 8:30 in the evening and stayed till after 11, and then stopped golf and did this instead. So your number 8 again was what game? Just so I make a note.
Azules.
That was Azules. So, okay,
what's your number 8?
Up 2, not the third one. So my third, this one is you kind of touched on it with the unlocks and stuff like this, but I think it's slightly different, and that is around trivia games, memory, and learning stuff like that, which is different to unlock. It's more about you've learned something, now you know it's not fair. So I don't own any Trivial Pursuits versions ever. I had an experience whereby there's a guy who I met on a flight, and we're both into films. He said how many films he said, and I said, oh, well, I can prove that there's how many I've seen. He's now got on board with that website, and now he has watched tons. I mean, we're talking a good number of years, and he has overtaken me finally. And yeah, I've been obviously doing loads of this instead. And I mean, I'm not catching up on that films watched. It's still under half, but we're talking about 1,800, 1,900 to 5,600 and something. I did watch a film before this, and then obviously the countries visited, which of course there aren't that many, but there is an interesting ratio constantly between those three. And if you go to my link tree, you can see more stuff about all those locations and stuff. But Trivial Pursuit is the thing, because he once invited me around for let's play Trivial Pursuit. It was the worst experience ever for any board game, perhaps, because he had this sort of set since 1983, and whenever I went somewhere, or whenever he went somewhere, he already knew the answer. He goes, oh, it's this. And I was like, oh, eventually I lied when he went to one place, and okay. And, I finally had a chance to go. And then after that, whenever he actually got an answer wrong, I went, oh no, I've slowing the game down. So I just told him it was correct. And I kept telling him it's correct. So sorry, I kept telling him to correct, not that it was wrong. And then a few weeks later, he phoned me up and went, I played Trivial Pursuit the other day, and that late Titicaca or something is, it was wrong. You told me it was right. I went, oh, sorry, I was really tired and I forgot. I went, you made me look like a fool. Anyway, but it was dreadful. Yeah, I mean, he had 17 turns in a row, and I like trivia a lot. Really enjoy it, but something like that where it's fixed, and the fact that nearly all facts go out of date after 7 years, typically, or on average, 7% or 1 in 7. So Trivial Pursuit versions is my number 8. So any views on that?
No, I think right. The last thing you said there, I think, was like what has put the nail in the coffin of that style of game for me is the fact that you own that sort of game, and in like a couple of years' time, it's like, oh, who is the current prime minister? And you're like, okay, when was this printed then? So that style of question. I love the sort of more not going to know the answer, but go for a ballpark ones like Wits and Wages.
Yeah,
where
crapshits.
Yeah, where you're guesstimating a rough answer, or you're then maybe trying to work out of the options who's closest, or something like that. But it's just they've wiped the floor for me with like Trivial Pursuit or ones that can go out of date, basically.
There are some games like that. There's a few. In fact, there's some economists who made a game which actually hasn't really taken off. But yeah, Wits and Wages, same designer as Evolution. I was actually watching up about Wits and Wages yesterday on a podcast. I did interview him, I felt like a while ago, but somehow I don't know what happened to the recording. It was an audio recording, I think, or it was for some kind of written review and was taking the audio version. I'm not sure what happened to that. But yes, I was looking at Wits and Wages. But even then, it's had like either 7,000 or like 11,000 ratings, 7,000 names. It's still not massive. In fact, of the games that I've still got my shelf of shame, some of these games have hardly got any amount of ratings. We're talking 3,000 at most, but Tekkenu is pretty new, and that's might be why. That is Trivial Pursuit number 8.
Right, so for my number 7 is a game that when it came out, it was extremely hot. Everyone had to play it. One of those style ones. It is a roll and write. Would you like to have a guess?
Well, I'm going to say Pandemic, then, but it's roll and write.
One of the very first ones that really exploded.
Okay, well, it couldn't have been St. Malo because that was the first one to do it. The first one to explode. Maybe you're thinking Ganshon Clever, but there's new ones.
I am indeed Ganshon Clever. Now, the reason for this is that since I've played it in app form, I have not touched the physical board game.
Okay.
It's just the app does it so much better in terms of you just tap, you do a couple of bits. You're not having to faff around with. Actually, I know it sounds really bad, faffing around rolling all of the dice. You can very easily see what you've got, what options you've got. It's just a smoother experience. I wouldn't play that anymore. And there's so many better roll and writes out there now. Despite it being at the time, everyone was like, you need to play this game that's in German, Ganshon Clever. It means this. It's like, it was good.
That's pretty clever.
But yeah.
I first played it at the UK Games Expo, actually, about 6 p.m. One of the evenings at about 2018, maybe, in fact, 2017. And 6 out of 10, the original. The other two, though, I do give an 8 out of 10 to. I do have Clever Cubed. I do have it laminated. And the second one I do have a copy of, but I haven't laminated it yet, I think. I have played the third one digitally, but that was on the website. And it's not on this list, I won't tell you. But Knock'em you might know, it's pretty much my favorite game of all time. Try the app. You can try it. If you have Google Play or something, you can try it for 2 hours and then just get a refund if you want to. That is incredible. That's so addictive that, like Julia and others, I know they just have to uninstall it for a while because it's just that good. Excellent app. I mean, I love playing it. I've got all the different colors and combinations. Incris Markham Sprant, obviously brilliant designers. I think one of the top tier designers. What's your views on them as designers for a start, obviously, and then about Knock'em, which I'm not sure you've played.
No, not played that one. Yeah, they are normally hitting it out the park, or even if they're not hitting it out the park, it's solid. You're going to get a good at least 7 out of 10 experience,
Mm.
and then there's some which go higher. What would you, apart from that, what would you say is that your favorite of theirs?
Well, that is my favourite. I mean, I have played quite a number of their games. Exits, of course, depending which one you play. And I've played. There's 24 exits now. There's 20 exits and 4 puzzly ones. I've played 16 of them, and I've got another one going live on the channel later this month. I keep pushing it back because it's not high priority for me. But that's a very highly rated one I just played, and it's quite a recent one. So I've also do like a video which is unboxing it, telling you how to play the game, and then I do the review, which obviously a lot shorter, so you don't spoil it. Very good experience, not sort of design. I know quite a bit about the history of Exit as well, because it was Ralph Querfarth, who is the editor, who said, I want to make an escape from the box, and he got Ingrid Marcus Brandt involved. He's been involved with the puzzles, which have been one of the more lower rated ones, because he likes to ensure that the components absolutely do get destroyed. And the most recent one I'm reviewing, they deliberately say on it, oh, you don't destroy it. You can play it with other people, give it away, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting they've changed tact. Other games by them that I like, Guatemala Cafe, that's on the channel too. And I've had really good positive reviews about that as well. In fact, it's the very first video that I didn't do how to set up. It was literally already set up because it did take a while. And it comes with free coffee beans, which, because this was a cheap copy in a shop, that local game shop, it ended up being like dusty. So unfortunately got binned, but I would have ground up. I'd still drink out of date coffee now, even today. 10 years out of date, I still don't mind it. Other games by them, Rajas the Ganges, of course, dice placements, a good 8 out of 10 game. There's a lot of really good games by them. So anything by them is definitely worth checking out. Anything else by theirs? Oh, Village. Anything else by them that you've enjoyed?
No, to be fair, Rajas of the Ganges is the one that instantly comes to mind to me. Really, I like games where there's dice involved, but a 6 can be good for you in one turn, and the last thing you want in the next. I really do. I like that when it's not just roll the right numbers. It's you roll them and you're like, okay, I can do this with these and stuff like that. And a bit of manipulation. There we go. As long as you've got that when dice are involved, I'm normally quite happy.
They also are doing, I played Bravo, which is kind of like a more advanced version, let's say, of Knockmal, which I don't like. I don't recommend it. I've left it in Germany. So it's just, well, we have 2 copies of it, so we've left it over here as well, but it's just like, nah, let's not play it. They're doing the new Andor Junior as well, which I haven't looked into. So I might look into that, but
I thought there already was one.
No, sorry, I say there is one, but I don't know if it's in the UK yet. Really, I'm not entirely sure.
Right, fair.
But anyway, so there's that. So that was your number 7, and this is a crossover. So I say it's a crossover. I've now written down the actual word which you put, because I thought if I have to give a single game, then it's not your game, but I think you'll pick up what I'm going to say here. It's Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So that I bundle with. You shouldn't really bundle with it, actually, I guess. And let me just double check in case I'm doing it somewhere else. No, it's fine. So it's the same, in my view, in some respects, as Exit, Unlock, all the undos. So I've played, like I said, 16 exits, 26 unlocks. I've got another one showing on the channel later this month, which is more of a rarer one, quite hard to get. In fact, it's not a big box, I'll put it that way. Also, there are 7 undos. No, the 8th one I've ordered and it's on its way. There's been some delays due to 2 years of Chinese shipping problems and stuff. Deckscape, I've only played 2 of those, and 1 Detective. The Detective ones and Deckscape, so you played many of them?
Yeah, really enjoy I've played more of the Deckscapes. I particularly liked there's the newish one, the Pirate versus Pirate, the team versus team one. That was quite good. I've only played 1 of the Detective ones. Definitely would like to give those more of a go. Yeah,
it's tricky. I mean, I know they were kind of like delayed in coming out. And Sherlock, there's these small box games called Sherlock, like Last Call. Have you seen those? I've played all 6 of those. Well, I say all 6. There were only 6 at the time, and now there's more. I definitely have done a ranking on them, like I have with the undos. So you might prefer a complex one, a bit like Exits. Some people don't like the complex ones. Some people find the easy ones too easy. I found one of the easy exits took me way longer than a complex one. And one of my lowest rated exits is a 4 out of 5. And I found it really easy, bam, 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 which is weird because am I penalizing myself of doing well at it? It just doesn't make sense. But it's interesting because other people have found the hard ones easier, and it's just maybe how your mind has to think about it. So now we're on to number 6, I guess.
Yep, my number 6 it's a little bit like the Azules, where there is an obvious replacement because the two games are so similar. It's The Crew versus The Crew, as I did a video like that on my channel. I would say there is basically no point having the Quest for Planet 9 in your collection if you've got Mission Deep Sea. They do exactly the same thing, but Mission Deep Sea is just a little bit more streamlined to get to the table. You just use the deck of cards. It's just that easier to play. It's still not a game I would ever play with someone that's not played a trick-taking game, because that would end very badly. But no need to own the original. Just get the new one.
Absolutely. Yes, I've only played both on Board Game Arena, and I've actually really preferred the second one. Every time it's my turn, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. It's just that good. And the first one I gave like a 7 out of 10 to. The second one is 15th best game of all time currently, something like that. So yeah, and with the first one, I remember even before the first one came out, at least in English, because again, I follow lots of stuff in Germany, and I posted around saying like, this game's called Die Crew. It's just so funny. And I just obviously really liked the second one. We're still playing through it since like September last year. It's a game that you're right, you don't need to own it because of Board Game Arena, to be honest. So speaking about that, hopefully I'm not touching on any toes for the other ones to talk about, but anything on, say, because of Board Game Arena that there are definitely games I've preferred in person, nearly all of them compared to Board Game Arena. But are there any, and I've got a whole 58 videos on my channel to do with Board Game Arena, things that are also there. But are there games which you think you don't need to play or either have or whatever because they're on Board Game Arena? Because maybe they're better implemented, saving time or whatever?
The only one that, I had the Ganchon Clever because of the app, not because of Board Game Arena.
Yeah.
But one of my honourable mentions, should we say, is, and I might get a little bit of hate for this one, is Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Because...
Okay, with the Tabletop Simulator, is it? Or
the Tabletop Simulator one, it works very, very well. I have played it a little bit on that, but there's also now like a actual Steam game, so you get like the actual 3D visuals and everything.
Yep.
And Gloomhaven is such a pain to set up and to actually keep track of everything. If that game had an app to do half of that, it would be so much better. And the fact that on Tabletop Simulator, there's bits that are automated, or on the actual video game, like the elements that you evoke, it's done for you. It's so much easier to play. So that, Gloomhaven would be my honourable mention for that exact reason. Ease of play.
I have started Draws the Line, I think, since we spoke last. So was meant to be again yesterday, but unfortunately it's been postponed, yesterday's session. What's your view on the fact, I really would love there to be an app for either of them. Particularly for Gloomhaven. Steam, again, I need to use the computer. I generally, Board Game Arena and stuff, I use my phone. How can I mean? Is it $8.99 or something? $9.99 for the Steam thing? I can't recall the cost of it again.
I'm not sure because I reviewed that one.
Okay, right. Separate conversation. you know my details. Okay, so that was number 6. Mine also begins with a G. Do you want to see if you can guess what that is? I don't think you would, but
no. Okay. I'm not even going to try.
All right. I'll give you a clue. It's a very heavy Euro. Not very heavy. It's regarded as it's by Lacerda.
By Lacerda. Does it have cows in it by any chance? No.
No, nothing of grandeur, right? No, it's the Gallerist.
Oh, Gallery. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Quite a simple reason, and that is it's a bit of a teach. It's not a really hard teach, to be honest.
That is a very fair reason to not have a game, to be fair.
Yes. I thought, okay, just pick one. And it wasn't really, there's many other things I could have picked, to be honest. I just felt picking that one. I haven't had to teach it. And that's maybe why, I don't know. There's so many games like, oh, yeah, I have to remember to learn and teach that one again. I just thought I'd pick one that's not in the collection because, again, there was like one game that is in the collection. I wanted to keep that as a unique theme as it was. And hence the gallery is at number 6. Any other games that you find particularly like, oh, it doesn't have to be complex, but I don't want to have to deal with that one?
Well, to be fair, I think there's always times when you're a bit tired and you're like, oh god, that one rule that I need to explain. No game is actually really sort of jumping out at me to be like, this is a super hard teach. I know there are certainly games out there where you get it to the table and you're like, okay, we're going to go through this rule very slowly because it doesn't really make sense while I'm teaching it, but later on, like half an hour into the game, you'll be like, oh, it makes so much sense. There aren't certainly games like that, and yeah, that's a very good shout for why you shouldn't own a game and let someone else own it and teach it for you.
Yeah, I have been very nervous about things like Tekkenu and stuff like that because the complexity is 4.09, and I just felt, let's just play this instead, and I had a 2 rating or if that to learn and do instead. And sometimes it's, there's some great people I play with who, when I don't goof in games typically, but if I goof and I'll miss that, there's definitely people in groups whereby Deep Sea Adventure, amongst other things, is some people, hey, this is a game you roll and then you try and go as far as you can and try and bring them back. The more treasure you have, obviously, the more it costs you to get back. I'm really summarizing a bit too much there. But what I'm getting at is I don't necessarily tell everybody that there are 2 zeros, 2 ones, that kind of stuff. Whereas I know that there are some groups that want to know that, and I know they're going to ask me anyway. But also I find when you teach people, there are some things where they go, oh, I don't remember you telling us that. And like, I definitely did. In fact, I told you 5 times. more subtly than that. But it's some points where I really, really, really tell them. And sometimes it goes, oh, it wouldn't have sunk in at that point. But I do repeat things because I don't want people to get through again. Go, oh, I forgot. Because there are people that happen to me, and people go, I won't tell them. I won't remind them because I want them to. I want to win, and I don't need to remind them. I told them rules. It's not my fault if they didn't make a note. There's a very specific thing, and that is the thing. And I'm not saying the galleries does that whatsoever. It's just it's a game that people are probably aware of. I went with more of a thing that someone's aware of, shall we say. But there might be a similar theme with my number 5, but there's another thing that's even a stronger point for it. But I'll go with your 5 next.
So my number 5 is that mystery game that I spoke about earlier that I sort of hugged the whole way home from Essen to make sure that it survived.
Is it
and that
Alvari?
It's not. No, it is. It was a game I picked up in one of the mass trades.
Oh yeah,
effectively, and it is Battlestar Galactica.
BSG.
This is the game. Well, like for the logic of the list, this is out of print. It's going to be some of the prices you see, or someone trying to sell it for on like the Facebook Marketplace or Marketplace on Board Game Geek or whatever, and you're like, Jesus, that is crazy.
Yeah.
But for a Battlestar Galactica fan, it is Battlestar Galactica. Literally, they've taken the DVDs, they've somehow squished and got all of the content out and into this game because it just feels like you are playing the series. It's almost as long, some people would say, but it is absolutely a phenomenal game. But just because the price and the effort you'd have to go through to actually get this game, play it if you can. But actually trying to find it would be quite hard. Especially, I've not played. Is it Unfathomable?
Yes, that's a new one. To be honest, I'm not really interested. If it's just a reskin, I don't know if I need to play it. To be honest, I mean, I don't know if it is just a reskin, which as far as I know where it is.
I think I think they've changed 1 or 2 rules, but it sounds like it is effectively an Arkham Horror reskin. And I get it. Okay. They've not got the license anymore. The game is phenomenal, and some people will probably prefer Arkham licensing. But the game felt like Battlestar. It really did feel like it. I don't know how well that game would work with a different theme. Now, I've not played it, so I can't say one way or the other, but it is the right theme for the right game to make it brilliant.
Yeah, it's interesting because Lord of the Rings is very immersive. Arkham is very easy to jump into, to be honest. There's something about it being, it's the 20s, 100 years ago now, and stuff like that. But my number 5 is actually longer than you watching the entire Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
And it's significantly longer. In fact, it's the longest game there is. It's the campaign for North Africa. It's too long.
Okay.
It takes 42 days. It takes 60,000 minutes. So it's longer than Battlestar Galactica, all episodes, all 178 episodes, times 5 or something like that. And again, talking about Teach, I was looking this up today. In fact, I've known about it for years, but I know that people are rating it. Oh, wow, it looks wonderful. 9 out of 10. Or I've read the first page rule book, 10 out of 10. Or I've taken my first solo turn, 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. I'm like, I've now actually put something. My first ever comment on a game I've not played, not rating, to comment saying, please do not rate something if you haven't played it, because that's like going to a film and actually, if you're a film critic reading the script is so much different than actually whatever they could do to it. There'd be the cinematography, the acting, obviously, if there's terrible sound effects, dialogue, or whatever. Of course, dialogue gets changed as well. Obviously, if they don't turn the lights on, all that kind of stuff. So, and Tarantino is an example when they made True Romance. He wrote it, but obviously it was Tony Scott, obviously Ridley Scott's brother, who actually did the direction, and therefore they lost quite a bit. So obviously it's not regarded as well as any of his other stuff. So that is my number 5. Campaign for North Africa takes 42 days.
Wow.
That's featured on the Big Bang as well. So there we go. Theory.
Okay. My number 4 is a lot shorter. You could say it's incredibly topical to board games over the last couple of years. You could say it's got one of the most tedious, boring themes of a board game ever, and that is Container.
Okay.
So this is a game, and I love to explain, this is a game where you have factories that make containers. You then sell those containers on. You then go and buy other people's containers. Other people then come to your warehouse with their lovely big ship and buy your containers, take the containers off, and then auction these containers. And if that doesn't bore you into oblivion, it's a phenomenal game. The reason it's on this list is price, in terms of the anniversary edition that Mercury Games put out. It's absolutely amazing. It's got these chunky, heavy boats. It's absolutely lovely, but it's just I could not recommend you get this game unless it was a third of the price, because the actual gameplay is not the £100 that the game costs, but that is the price tag.
So I did get a geek message during the stream, not for watching this, but the fact that there is this person owns it. He lives in Reading as well as I do, and they have Container. He loves it, and yeah, we're definitely going to give it a try. So we'll talk about that when I get onto it. So another good reason why I don't need to be buying it. And I mentioned on a prior stream, I think with yourself, or when we last caught up, we spent over an hour and a half post stream just chatting anyway. And the fact is that I had a chance to play something or Container, and I ended up playing the other game. It might have been Age of Discovery or something like that, or Endeavour. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't play everything. I'll just pick that one, And turned out that obviously that had been lovely to have seen and play again. And just turned out that, again, they bring out different games next time or whatever. That person's, by the way, his nickname is Brexit Dave. So maybe that's another reason why I didn't want to play it, because he has campaigning, giving leaflets for flyers and stuff like that. So he was in the local news and stuff. So that's your 4. Now, my 4, actually, I do kind of own. So again, a completely different reason. Similar to my number 10 is I have Hive. Okay, not I have Hives. I have Hive. I can't remember how I got it now, but no, I've got Hive, and I either swapped it with someone or did someone bought it. I can't remember how I got a hold of it. But the point is, I was going to put 4 really cheap reason, Hive Pocket. I prefer Hive Pocket probably, but they are nice big pieces. They're very nice. I have no reason to get Hive Pockets and therefore swap or anything like that. It's just, it's nice. I mean, it's nice they can carry it in your pocket, but equally, I have a nice little 2-player cupboard. I'm like, quick, we've got 10, 20 minutes. This is where we're going to take you to. And I cycle through people, especially if they're not new, but if they're first round, I'm like, okay, you haven't played this with me. It's a 2-player one. Castle Rampage is another one, which gets loads of views on the channel as well, which I'm really surprised at. It's a really interesting tower defense-y kind of game. Just you against them, but you can either put cards down to protect the castle, or you can fight out from a castle. Are you familiar with Castle? Sorry, not Castle Panic, Castle Rampage. Have you heard about that one?
Heard, but that's about it, really.
Ooh, yeah. How did you hear about it?
Well, it's just one of the ones that I think has been brought up on maybe some people's list. It sounds like I'm going to have to check out your video on it.
Yes, yeah, no, it's lovely, and even there was a stall sort of showing it off, and they're taking 8+ minutes to explain it, and they kind of knew me a bit, and I said, "Do you mind if I give you a quick demo?" And I went, "Sure." And I hadn't rehearsed this, I hadn't played it for quite a while, maybe even 2 years or something. And here we go, 2 minutes, and like, wow, that's so effective. And of course, the guy was straight into playing the game with me, whoever it was that just turned up the stall. So that is my number 4, Hive Pocket.
I have not played the original Hive. I've only played Hive Pocket, and I love the I say they're chunky tiles. They for someone that's not played the original Hive, where they're even chunkier, they're nice quality tiles. They're nice in the bag. It's not too big. It makes it super portable. I think you bang on the money. I'm not sure I would ever want to go up to Hive, because the portability is something I love about Hive Pocket, and the production quality is still fantastic.
Yeah, I don't recommend Hive Carbon. Black and white pieces are just ridiculous. It's really, those colours are great. And Hive Pocket, it comes this really weird, orange bag. I don't know what it is, but this nice acrylic white one where, it's a nice wraparound thing. At least it's not a tin, but it is what it is. Just let you know, I know you're going to talk about your 3. My 3, we're not going to talk about for very long. I haven't played it, and it's the silly one. But let's talk about let's keep it teasing and tantalizing as you move on to your 3.
Okay. Well, my number 3 is interesting because it's also a game that I haven't played. It's also one that some people would say it sort of treads the line between serious and silly. And it's a game that I had an opportunity once to play it, and I'm a little bit gutted that I missed out at one of the conventions, and that is Captain Sonar. Okay. Now, I haven't played it, and I really, really do want to give it a go. But there's no point in me owning it, because I don't think I ever have had maybe 1 or 2 game nights where I would have had the full 8 people that would have actually played it. Now, I've had game nights where there's been 8 or plus people here, but they wouldn't have actually wanted to play. So I could never see myself physically getting it to the table. But if someone else is getting it to the table and I've got the opportunity to join in, I want that opportunity. And that's why I've put it on the list, even though I've not played it. It could be awful. I doubt that. And everyone seems to say it's brilliant. What do you think of it? You're nodding away. Is it brilliant?
Yeah, I think it's great. I can't recall exactly what to give you out of 10, but at least a 7 or an 8 or something like that. I've played it at a 5, 6, 7, 8 numerous times at all of those player counts. Obviously, 8 is great because everyone has to use an individual role. Sometimes I play a 4 against a 3, and I might play. If I've played it more than the others, then I've been in charge of 2 things. I've got to manage 2 things. You can house rule some bits without drawing inside the lines. I've played 3 against 3, as I mentioned. So you switch around, see who's more experienced or whatever, to then control 2 boards. That's really fun, especially when you're in the middle and like, I need you to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this as well. And then you need to tell them to come back and talk to you that stuff. It's real time, like Pendulum, which again, I've got a video on the channel for that. People might not like it. If you don't like real time games, you might not like that stuff. This is much more an intro for you for this. Viticulture, I still prefer Pendulum over that, just because it's the same kind of tech tree approach. Tech tree isn't necessarily viticulture, but it is that idea of being a Euro engine builder. Like, I need to do that, to do this, to do that, which reminded me earlier, I made a note about doing a solo playthrough for that at some point. But also, yeah, Kitchen Rush, obviously the revised editions on the channel, you can see playthroughs of that, and Kung Fu Panda. There's various different challenges which I still haven't finished playing, which is another top 10 list about games I haven't finished or played all player counts. Captain Sonar, I've also played all the different maps as well. So I think I don't own it, but I played all the different maps apart from maybe one. There's an icy one. I think actually I have, but there's you can either go turn-based with Captain Sonar, or we're going to do this, or then we're going to do that. I much prefer, obviously, when everyone does it together, including Pendulum. They say spend your first time. Arado, where it just plays the whole thing turn-based. Spend that first time and simply see what you want to do in, say, Pendulum. No, in that first turn, we thought, let's just turn over time. Let's see what we can do. And actually, it isn't stressful. It's just, I can do that. All right, and I need to wait for that time to go. I just need to think in my head. Once it's gone, where do I want to put it? That's all it is. It's not about I can't do this and I can't do this and we're going to lose. It's not like that at all. That was your number 3. This looks like the word bomb track, but it's not. Number 3 is the funny one. There are a few titles. There's quite a few titles I could put in here. It's not rude, okay, but it's called Boob Tube.
Right.
And there's very few ratings for it, and I just thought. And the reason behind it is I don't want to own a game which sounds like it could be misogynistic or something like that. You also have an exit strategy. You talked about buying and selling games, I think perhaps a little bit, or trading. I don't know if I'll be able to sell this or whatever. And it's going to be like literally you have a tube that looks like a Smartie tube with holes in it and there's balls, and you're just trying to get them to the bottom. And okay. I just had to put something on this list which is like garish, something that is really kind of like, I mean, there are, him and her kind of games or whatever, but the title, the look of it, it's like, I mean, I could definitely have something on this list, which is a hard to find game, which is a game you should play rather than own, but that also fits in it because it looks like only 5 people own it. It doesn't look like it's 1962, this game, I think, as well.
Wow.
Yeah, before all the code rules for, like the film code, before the board game code of what's allowed and stuff. But yeah, number 3.
A unique choice.
Yeah, it's the one that I just literally typed in something like, okay, there's bound to be something. I know there's one involving like Guess Who, but it's a body part or a body zone, shall we say.
Oh, crikey.
Try and keep that kind of a PC and stuff, but yeah. Anyway, number 2 is a bit similar actually, but for different reasons. But anyway, over to you on number 2 actually.
We'll move swiftly on. My number 2 is a game that I do own, and it gets quite a lot of hate in the board game scene, and it's a version of Catan. It's one that is so ludicrous, you don't need to own it, because Catan is for many, is an ideal entry point. Yes, some people don't like it because, yes, you are getting very lucky on your dice. But I think sometimes introducing someone that's played the likes of Monopoly or whatever, maybe Yahtzee or something like that, they're used to just sort of some luck of dice and doing something and making some choices. So Catan works really well. And Catan 3D is absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely lovely to play like with that board. It makes people go, wow, this is incredible, and gets them hooked even more. But no one really needs to buy it, because just the core game, that's all you need. Like, you can definitely play that endlessly. Yes, you might get a little bit bored of it. It's not, for me, it's not like an 8 out of 10. It is a 7 out of 10. It's a solid game. But it's a solid game if you get that out with the right people, the right evening, when you're like, I don't want to think too much. Let's just roll some dice, chat, we'll get some sheep, we'll make jokes about someone getting wood and stuff like that. Trading. And like, who's got clay? Everyone, I need this, and no one gives it to you and stuff like that. It's easy to play. Just get the sort of the standard version, the cheapest one, because you don't need anything more.
There's a new version coming out, and where you actually do hand over bricks as well in the bigger box.
Wow, I mean, can you imagine? They'll try anything.
bags of flour. So I haven't played the £300 one, but I say that I do have the 10th anniversary edition, which again the missus picked up when it first came out, which is also worth that amount of money anyway. It is the 3D pieces, it's the 3D molded ones, but you can't put stuff on top of it, and it's better than the wooden version, which is more like a proper 300 quid, but you can't put stuff on top of that either. So Catan, again, I've walked past the design. I think we talked about this before at Essen, and I've even found some more stuff about strategies, about actually how seafarers was mixed into the original game, which I've also got. But the thing is, and I'm going through all those missions, is they found it was too much, and actually it balances it because there's some imbalancing issues in the original Catan. So actually that's interesting. But also the fact you can buy event cards, I looked up today. So you can buy 36 cards because people don't like throwing dice, and the fact that 9s do come up in a certain game and stuff like that. So all that reasons alone, it's like, oh, but then of course if you use cards instead, you have memory aspect, because then you know what could come up, and what if this 11's come up, well, it's not going to come up again, most likely. So similar. So, and I played numerous versions of Catan. There's a new one coming out, like the New Dawn or something like that, which looks like Rise of the Incas. And we've spoken before, you know, Rise of the Catan, that's one of my most watched videos. I know it's your most watched video as well, actually, funny enough. And so my number 2 involves appendages and stuff, and this is why I don't want to own it. I know it's pretty gory, very scary. It's a scary looking game. That's why I don't want to get it. I've been looking forward to telling you this. Oh, hang on, is this number 2? Because I think, have I missed something? I feel like I might have missed something here. Oh, I have missed one. So this is going to be my number 2. Well, it'll have to be this one now, and it's Kingdom Death Monster. So it's an expensive game.
Right? Yes.
I guess it's graphic. It's there's a few things wrong with it, not wrong with it, but very expensive. It's obviously big, bloated, hard to kill bosses and stuff. Actually, I haven't played it. I don't know if you have, Ollie. I don't know if you're keen to play it. You're not keen to play it. If you're keen to play it, but not keen to own it.
Not played it. Yeah, not played it, and
it's in the top 100 BGG, I think.
Yeah,
which is why I want to.
It doesn't necessarily, for me, that doesn't make me want to play it more. It's one of those ones that it's like you either commit to it or you don't bother. And I think it's too much of a bit like maybe with Gloomhaven, you know, because of like the setup and all that sort of stuff. It's such a commitment. It's not for me. And I think a huge big box like Kingdom Death Monster is, that's probably why I wouldn't. It's not the theming and all that, you know. It's gory and everything, but at the end of the day, it's miniatures and artwork and stuff. It's you know, it's not like a film where you're seeing it.
Yeah, you can't have people.
Oh no, it's not. No,
and that's the fact. I mean, you can get it for. I'm not saying only, but 100, 150 pounds, and you will probably get your money back. Like if you want to sell it on, I don't think that's a problem. It's just whether or not you want to do it in the first place, and that's, as you said, buyers instead of this. There's always a finite amount. Which gives me, I think it's a really good like closing chapter for my number 1 now in terms of the key reason. The key reason is what we're trying to get to here. That's our journey today. And over to you though. What's your number 1 game to play but not own?
So this is a game in my collection. This is a game I got as a review copy before it came out, and it was one of the most amazing delivery days ever. And it is Twilight Imperium 4th edition. It is an amazing game. It dominates the table. It dominates an entire day of play. But it comes up with incredible situations. Like there was one time, one event card from the agenda deck basically nuked the central Metal Rex planet and everything just surrounding it. So many ships that had been built up were destroyed because we managed to outvote the person that was there. And then there's tech trees. There's just, you're throwing plastic miniatures at each other. And you would maybe expect I'm going to go down the same one as I've done a few, the price, but no. The reason it's number 1, there's not too much of a like meaning to it being number 1, but it's because it sits there on the shelf for many, many months at a time. Then it comes off the shelf and you have that incredible day that you can play it. And then it goes back there for another maybe a year. And certainly in the last couple of years, it's sat there taking up a lot of room, not being played, no chance of being played. I have played it recently, not my copy, actually.
Okay.
But it's an amazing game to play, but it's expensive. And how often is it going to hit the table? Not very often.
Okay.
That's why it's. Have you? I'm going to say, have you enjoyed Twilight Imperium before?
Well, movement is the thing that really crippled me with playing that game, because I just laugh at the amount of complexity with movements in that particular game. The fact, oh no, you leave your ships and you do those ships and stuff like that. With all these various streams we're doing recently, I couldn't recall if I did mention it, but yes, it was an 11-hour session playing with 5 new players. I happened to win it, thankfully, and got, I don't know, 11, and other people on like 6 and stuff. Thankfully, each crossed the line, just rushed it. The second game, though, I was playing with, including with a couple, whereby she was saying like, well, don't pick on me to her now husband, pick on someone else, I'm going to give you a lift home and stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay. And it was just like, never again playing a competitive game with those guys because of that. And so that has frustrated me in that respect. Yes, it can take a long time. There are other games I can play in a short amount of time, not worrying about movement or the fact I've now moved and then have ruined myself and stuff like this. Because if you are it's not as bad as like a Star Trek Ascendancy where you are literally just limp for the rest of the game, waiting to the game to end, because you can't really be killed off either. There's no respite. You can't just do seppuku or harakiri or something. It's just you're stuck. So that is something to be aware of. But yeah, that's my number one. But that's your number one. No, you've been very forthcoming. You said you got it ahead of release. Was that is it pre-order or a review or something like that?
It was a review. And you can tell that by my copy having one card that's got a typo, which is it's one of the tech tree cards where it's like you get 2 tokens for your strategy pool. The tech is supposed to be you get 3, but the tech card says you get 2. So every time, thankfully, I normally end up playing with people that have played before. So they're just like, hang on a minute, this just says the wrong number. And you're like, yes, it does. Obviously, they fixed that for the actual printings, but
oh right, so really ahead of schedule. So because what I tend to do when I've got stuff like that, like funny enough, it's also fancy flight kind of stuff, and that is I just sleeve it and then just get a little kind of posty kind of see-through post-it put over the top. I don't know if you sleeved it and done something like that instead. That's an option.
I said this in my Q&A recently, and one of the people in my game, one of the game groups I go to in Chelmsford, said he nearly didn't talk to me again. I don't like sleeved cards. I don't know why. There's some games which I think I need to sleeve because they're starting to show some wear and tear. But normally I will avoid it at all costs, even if there's a typo on a card.
No, I'm generally the same. I think my copy of Legends of Andor came sleeved, so I was happy with that. In fact, I think that's how I got the Hive copy of somebody else as well. I'm not sure. But there are some games like Tainted Grail, which they do get marked and they get tatty. And my copy of Coup Handle may well be sleeved now because it's just so grease stained and whatever. And a game like that where there's bluffing involved, you want to keep an eye on those cards. It's nice to shuffle some cards, and I have seen some people really damage some cards as well. I don't have enough spare sleeves to then do them all, and I don't have enough to then, or not have enough to then go, right, I'm going to take them all out and do this. So I don't disagree, and it's also about space, about will it even fit back in the box and that kind of stuff. So my number one is a game which I'll tell you the reason first. Main gaming partner is out there, whatever, and that person does not like this game. If it's in the house, it might disappear, put it this way.
Wow.
So if they're not going to play it, it's a factor. And there's definitely loads of games which I haven't played in every year. So I wouldn't feel that TI4 isn't a game that I would say you don't have to own. There's numerous games I can tell you I haven't played this year, which I play like this year in particular. I play the majority of my games. We're talking over 85%, perhaps. And unfortunately, my phone is charging. Otherwise, I'll tell you all the app statistics and stuff. I'm trying a bit more focus. I was dissing around to check some other bits relevant for this. But my number one is a complex game with a hard to catch up mechanism, even though there's that expansion. I've personally gone well with it, but I didn't win. But I think some people don't like it, and it's a heavy-ish game. I didn't think it took that long, to be honest, as a 3 in particular. Again, I enjoyed it, but it's not well received by many others. For that reason, I probably wouldn't get it and buy it, because I have a feeling I might not get others interested. And I think you generally do need about 3 players, which, to be honest, is a fairly decent, nice amount of people, especially for a Euro. It's the kind of classic, size group to play it with. And that game is, have a guess.
I'm not sure.
Food Chain Magnate.
Yeah, it's one of those games that the production quality alone would make it very hard for me to sell someone on it, to be fair.
Yeah, easy to sell on, I reckon. But
oh yes, yeah,
it's depending on obviously what kind of deal you get. Obviously, it's like 8th printing now, something. Splotter. I don't even recall seeing them at Essen, to be honest. But again, this would be a first full 4-day experience. But even on the Thursday and Friday, man, people bashing past you. I mean, the etiquette, it wasn't great. I don't know, obviously, UKGE, like last year, wider aisles, at least last year was wider aisles. I don't know what it's like at Essen.
Nice.
I know, it was really nice. I mean, last time at Essen that I went, and pretty much when you went, 200,000 people went. Last year, they had 98,000, which is still a huge amount of people going. I don't know what they're anticipating this year. I think it is going to be up on that, maybe 150,000. I believe it's still masks. I was told it's still masks, and for 4 days wearing a mask, and it's hurting your ears. I don't know. I've now learned what masks to wear better.
They did it at UK Games Expo. What was it, last year? That was like you pretty much had to wear a mask and all of that. And to be fair, that was absolutely fine. Partway through the day, I just popped outside, had a bit of food, obviously took my mask off to eat and then popped it back on and went in, and I was absolutely fine, to be fair, wearing it all day. And obviously things can change between certainly now and Essen, let alone now in UK Games Expo this year.
I think it was the particular strings I was using. They really rubbed, can't speak now. So that was a factor. And I even knew people who were wearing, like, they have modified looped things, which I'm definitely going to have to look into, investigate and find. I know I've seen some, and I think I've got some spare, hopefully. And that's what I'll definitely have to wear, because there are some more preferred grades, obviously, to wear as well. So, but obviously there's lots of progress. So, that seems like it's the wrap. That's our clapperboard brought down that one. Was there anything else you wish to bring up, or anything else to discuss? I don't know. The next one, and that could well be some time off, or we can end the recording as chats. So,
I was just trying to see if I had any honourable mentions. Gloomhaven, because of the app, which I think we actually touched on. Big City. I said Container on this list. I think maybe last time we actually spoke about Big City. They are basically for the exact same reason, so I just picked one of them. Should have just said both, because of it's an amazing game, but it's about 3 times the price it should be because of the component quality, which is brilliant, but not needed. Just trying to see if I've got any other honourable mentions. No, I'm trying to think. You said like you said Food Chain Magnate, and it did get me thinking. There are some games that I like. Number 9 is probably a good example. Number 9 is a game that I do rather enjoy playing, but I sold it because, all right, I do maybe prefer Bar and Park, but it is a different style of polyomino puzzle.
Yeah.
But it was very hard to get people interested in playing it, which meant there wasn't any point in me owning it. If I can't get people interested to play it, it's just sat on the shelf, even if I want to play it. So, that's another honourable mention for me. Anything that's just missed your list? What was your 11, for instance?
Well, I mean, this is where I was cheating a bit, because I literally, but initially, I mean, if we're talking version 1 of 8 or something, I did have Unlock as one list, and I had Exit as another, and what's it called? Escape Tales as another, which I played those 3, and Adventureland as well. I think it's called the Adventure, the ones with Brett J. Gilbert and Matthew Dunstan. So I've now got playlists. Adventure Island or something like that. But anyway,
Yeah,
those
something like
ones.
that. Yeah.
So forgettable, put it that way. Not necessarily forgettable, but you can play them through multiple times, like Tainted Grail. But would you want to? And there's at least some overlap. Highly rate those designers, though. Really, really enjoy their stuff. They're definitely in Marcus Brandt territory in terms of duo. They have got a new game out. No, it hasn't come out yet, but I don't know. They haven't got a name for it yet. I don't think it's train themed anyway. And I was like, all right, well, it's going to be the new Tickets Right or something like that. And I had a nice, tweet response from Matthew, which is rather nice. And there's something called Tiny Letter, which I hadn't heard about. So yeah, that's been a fairly broad list, which I think is different reason. I can't think of any other reasons why to play it and not own it, other than it being a preview copy, which you kind of alluded to. But yeah, if you're playing a prototype, that's not like you have it. Speaking of which, you did say your last game you sold. I can't remember the last game I sold. I do have a game to hand which I'm probably looking to sell next. It's a solo game because, again, if you played a game, like completed it or whatever, legacy games finished, it's probably the next game I'm looking to probably sell. We can have like a bring and buy, like an auction on the channel or something. What's anything on your lists that you're thinking like, do you have like a cupboard or anything like, yeah, I probably am going to think about selling this, and suddenly, and it's moved, you've already thought about it. Then you go, okay, because there are games whereby people said, oh, if ever you want to sell that game, and I was like, nah. And then eventually I went, okay, I might message them and they're offering a good price, I'll see. And then, oh no, I've already found another copy. And then someone else is messaging you, and there's a guy over in Europe, and apparently the Euros dropped enough for him to not want it currently. I'm all right, fair enough. But we're talking about 3% difference. But what about you? Anything else you're thinking, I might sell this next, or I might swap this, or maths trade it, whatever?
Well, fortunately, and I'll give them a little bit of a shout out, my local board game shop, Counterculture Games, has like a second-hand sale every month. At the end of every month, basically on the Sunday, they do a bring and buy, basically. So I normally take sort of a few games to that sort of thing. Just trying to look in there, sort of I've got piles basically all around me of board games.
Oh dear, that's why I sat down.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to rearrange the shelf.
Okay,
it's not going well because they're not fitting, which is why some games are going to be sold.
So your local game shop has a bring and buy, did you say?
Yeah, so it's a game store with like you can go there and play games like all day, really cheap, really lovely owners, and yeah, they obviously have quite a bit of a shop as well, and you can either take it as like store credit or for like 10% take it as cash.
What's that? What they're bring and buy, or
so you take your games, they'll sell them for you, and you can. Yeah, and normally, because I'm sort of trying to get rid of games relatively easily, I normally try and put like a low price to be like, I don't have anywhere to put this, so someone else can enjoy it, sort of thing.
So you say you list it for £10, what they give you £9 in store credits, or how does it work?
No, if you take it as store credit, they'll give you that full £10, which is what I normally do, because then I go and play there. And use that money to then buy my drinks and pay for my hours, like full day gaming hours, sort of thing, with the store credit. So
that's how they work with it. So they're not eroding or cannibalizing their sales. It's you sell it and then we'll give you that's a really cool idea. I like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they often say they have a bit of like a queue out the door at the start of the day on those days, and So hopefully for them, at least for me, it's brilliant because it means I can get some games that I've got out of the house that I'm not going to play, and it means that then I can go and play for free effectively. Which is
definitely.
Nice.
And there's I've been visiting local game store a few times recently. I don't want to. Well, I will be giving them a shout out, but they've got a new marketing person, and I don't want to flood them with people because right now their shop's not closed, but they're not having any kind of in-person people in presently for a few reasons. So I'll wait, and we'll talk about that potentially next time. But I know that that there's obviously, do you want to have drinks and do you have stuff like this? Because I know some places such as theirs, which again I'm trying to not mention it too much, is they've never had alcohol in their shop to suggest that, which obviously lots of people do drink alcohol and stuff. But apparently, one of the owners said, if a child is caught drinking it or whatever, that's a £20,000 fine. So that's kind of why they held off on it. Should they have still done it? Should they have risked it? As in, not to make sure that they're checking IDs or whatever. I mean, we know that there's a bit of a huge demographic of gamers, and that some of them are, there are not many beardy, greyed people who are 10 drinking, shall we say. That's one way of putting it. So there's that to bear in mind. So, yeah, obviously, picture behind me. Oh, no, I made a mistake this time. Recognize that image from Yellow? That's a hint. Arkham related.
No, I mean, I was going to say it looks almost like a lovely artwork from like a D&D book almost.
This is like a weather person here, obviously weather. This is a plane. That's a mountain.
Arcus Project or something like that?
No, not Arcus Project. No, it's you could go mad there. You might have played it. Mountain of Madness. Heard of that one?
I've not played it. Not played it.
You've heard of it, hopefully.
Yes, yeah. Not had a chance to play them.
Mad. Okay, fine. All right. So obviously, hopefully, let me know in the comments or Olly's comments or whoever. I'm using a different headset. I'm not using the Sennheisers today, and that's because Olly said I sounded better. So I'm looking forward to checking to see how I sound differently. And because these are wireless, I have noticed the batteries haven't died yet. Olly can still hear me, it sounds like. So we now know they last for 80 odd minutes. They're definitely a bit more painful on the ears, even though they are comfy, but they are crushing my brain slightly. So hopefully we won't go mad for the next top 10, of which I do have some ideas for, but I think we don't know when that's going to be. That could be months away, to be honest. There's a few other things, irons in the fire. I don't think iron is the most apt word, shall we say, but more discoveries on the way, more boardies on the way. Let's put it that way. More boardies on board, something like that. So I'll be signing out now, and more stuff. Obviously, hopefully, in Olly's spare time, he can check out some more videos, and we can have a catch up. Of course, best of the month. I haven't made my video yet. I thought again I'd eke closer. What is my deadline, Olly? When do I need to be 7th-ish?
It's like the 30th or something.
Oh, later. Okay, good.
Have to check. But
I'll say it on camera. I'll say it whilst we're live. I know obviously you said last time I was on last because we had a rider. So this time you mentioned I was going to be on first. So I'll do a piece to camera like this, 2-3 minutes, talk about board game, and that's it. Boom. I could even suggest who we have on second, but I'll leave that to you. You've got your roster going, and then of course in the month of May I'll be on second driller. So, what's you going to play next? What's your next game? Do you think you might play?
My next game that I really want to play, apart from Pitch Car, which is literally set up on the table downstairs, is Little Red versus Beowulf, the Unmatched. I love Unmatched, so another box of this. I am a very happy person. You?
Okay. Well, I have played Cobble and Fog, so I have played as a 4. Have you played as a 4? You like Unmatched as a 4?
I've stayed away from that because I love it at 2, and I feel like it could work. I can see how it could be brilliant. And there is actually one character in the Buffy set, which if you're playing 2v2 is extremely good compared to normal. But other than that, I like just the one-on-one. I'll do 2 on 2 at some point though.
I don't recommend it. It does take a long time. It's like 2.5 hours or so. We do have a viewer. I don't know if this is the owner of Unmatched who I played with, but it went on late. I was hosting, so they were getting late back themselves. And did I mention what's your last game you played? Did we talk about that?
The last game, I was going to check on the app, but it was Pitch Car.
Okay, fair enough.
Like I said, it's set up on the table. We finished a couple of races, and I've rearranged it for tomorrow night now when we're going to play some more. So
I'm taking you through my interview questions I've been asking the others, so I just felt like I could just wrap up with that, especially because I think you'll be less exhausted with whatever nappies you might be having to change. So if you don't mind, I'll quickly wrap through these. What game do you think is the most overrated? Did I ask that one before?
Oh, overrated. It's
like an AMA for your channel.
Arkham Horror card game. Okay. I know a lot of people love it. I just found it was really boring turning
churny.
cards over and
Yeah.
getting
Random.
this token, getting that token. Okay, when does this end?
Okay. Favorite game? I forgot if you did tell me this before.
Now I'm trying to at the moment rate my top 100 to do that for my channel.
Okay.
And at the moment, so this might change. At the moment, it is between two games. It is between Terraforming Mars, because it's Mars and you're terraforming and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And a game that I said was in my top 10 earlier that you said you don't need to own.
Oh yeah, Love Letter. Oh, is
Love
that
Letter.
right? Wow. Okay.
I will never say no to playing that game. That is why.
Okay. How many times have you played back to back?
Countless. I mean, I've played it back to back in like random places around the world. Like when I went on holidays pre-COVID and that.
Back to back.
Yeah, we literally played it all night, like in a random hut in Nepal once, and things like that. Like, yeah, it's an amazing game.
Nepal. So you've travelled a lot, or is Nepal a special thing, or?
I've travelled quite a bit. I've been to 25 different countries, which sounds like a small amount until you try and calculate how many you've been to, and then most people seem to get to like 15 maximum. So I've been very lucky there.
Yeah. Where have you been?
China, Nepal, Singapore, Hong Kong, which I do count as separate, America, a load of places around Europe and stuff like that, really.
Cool. Do you think there's any kind of a game that you wish you'd made, or you felt like I wish I could have made Love Letter, or I wish I'd done that, or you feel like I could make a game, or there's a game that you're applying to make, we're like, yeah, I've got aspirations for, or they haven't done this, or I want to do this more in a game?
There's a bit of a funny story. When I started playing board games, like hobby board games, I did go, oh, I wonder if I could make a game. And I effectively, and I did not know it existed, or I might have known that it existed, but didn't know how it played, was Zombicide. And I kid you not, I even went down, I created it with like a map with like zones, which is very like it. And I even had manhole covers being where they would spawn from, coming up out of like the sewers. And that is legitimately where they spawn on modern Zombicide. It was weird. And then one of my friends who was sort of spearheading like game nights and stuff brought his copy of Zombicide. I was like, oh damn, this is very good. I wish.
Yeah. But, Hero Quest. Have you played that before? Because maybe that was like a subtle kind of thing behind it.
I'm not sure if I have, to be honest. I think it might be that sort of one that maybe when I was super young I played that, but I don't really remember it, to be fair.
Okay. What's your most stressful moments? I feel like a psychotherapist or something now. Most stressful moment in board gaming?
Most stressful is got to be in a bluffing game or something like that. When you're trying to bluff something. I'll use the example from Twilight Imperium because why not talk about it as we mentioned it in the top 10. There was the time where I managed to bluff people giving me, there's one card that you can give to other people that basically means I won't attack you, but you can
yellow
have a
card, I think.
I can't.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like diplomacy, whatever it's called.
Yeah, not diplomacy. Not one of those. It's one of the cards that you've got in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's you have a point, but you can't attack me. And I managed to convince two people to give me those cards because they thought I was well out of contention. Managed to score a secret objective and a public objective and win the game. And during that time, while I was bluffing, I was so stressed. Like, please don't give this away. Please don't give this away. And it works. So we'll say the most stressful time is whenever I try and pull off an incredibly good bluff. It doesn't always work, doesn't normally work.
So that's interesting, because I was going to ask you most memorable moments. Then if that would be the same one.
It's certainly up there. Memorable moments other than that, probably like legacy games, when you're finishing a legacy game and it's sort of the whole thing coming back together, like the pandemic ones. And even though I didn't think Pandemic Season 0 was as good as like number 1, for instance, it was the end of the trilogy, the end of the arc, even though it was the prequel. So it felt like a big moment in gaming, I think. And then for a really small one, Ice Cool 1 and 2, putting those together and making a huge board and having just a load of people, like everyone in pairs, so in teams, like doing the flicking race. That was super memorable. Okay,
that's interesting, because I definitely would rank 0. As you said it's below 1. I would definitely put 0 below 2. So there's that. Is there anything that you wouldn't like to see anymore in gaming, or what you think designers shouldn't be doing? For example, roll and writes, or something in a game like bluffing mechanic or something.
Well, roll to move. Let's get that one out of the way. That's a given. There's, I don't know. There are times where you play a game and you're just like, this one rule goes against the grain of the rest of the game, and sometimes I think it's like, they've put that in there because maybe something else didn't work. But when there is that one rule that maybe trips the teaching up or is easy to forget, and then when it comes back to it, you're like, oh, we forgot this, or I've lost because I forgot that. When there is that one small rule that can trip you up or easily forget, that can ruin a game. So
Okay. And I think the other one I was going to ask you would be around, you mentioned about your top 100. Have you made one before? Because again, I didn't want to do too much research into this. Again, I knew about your Catan watch video, but your top 100, is this an annual thing, or how frequently? And what's your schedule for revising it, and how you decide to then look at it again, that kind of stuff?
I've done top 10s in the past, or top 5s, top 10s on various different things. And I've never done anything past a 10, maybe with some honorable mentions, probably 15. And I thought, why not give it a go? As we alluded to, in a month or so's time, there will be player 3 entering the household, which means I'm not going to have too much time on my hands. So I'm going to try and maybe record the whole top 100 and then being able to have it sort of drop across at least a month, to give me a bit of breathing time, but content for the channel. So I just thought it's about time that I did it, really. And it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, to be honest. Like, there's games where it's like, I really enjoy that, but where the hell do I put this? Like, how do I rank this? And I'm just slowly going through them and being like, that has incredible moments. So does that mean it's above this? Out of these two, would I play? Which one would I say guaranteed yes to? That's why Love Letter is so high.
Yeah,
I think it will be so high.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just because I won't say no to it. And yeah, it's interesting. It's making me think of, like, certainly like the Dice Tower that do it every year. It's like, yeah, that is a serious amount of work. So commend them sort of for doing that. And I might like to do it every year, or at least revisit it, parts of it at least. Maybe next year, once see how much things have changed. But
yeah, I did my top 250 initially, and then I just started doing top 100. I think it was this year and the year prior, or something like that. I don't know if I'm going to change it again, but I had to use PubMeeple at one point just to see if I can say, well, that's better than this, or whatever. I kind of actually steered away from that in the end, because, as you kind of alluded to, 10 games, that's roughly what it is. Z Garcia, his top 3 hasn't changed in years, and mine hasn't either, really. I have my kind of top 10. But my top 10 to top 20 has shifted quite a bit. So there's definitely some things in movement, and there's like engagement and interest. So yeah, I look forward to seeing how that pans out. But for those who happen to catch by clicking on my live thing to see obviously the live streams and seeing, but when can I see whenever people are commenting about it, obviously on Olly's channel, do you have any idea on, like, if I send this through by Dropbox, are you thinking tomorrow evening, or when were you thinking of actually having this go live?
As soon as possible. I will try and sort of throw in some images of the games that we've talked about,
lovely,
and stuff like that.
Love letter.
With some hopefully some good editing.
Oh, lovely! Yes, of course. Yeah, editing, the bane of our lives. There's been a new game called Editor or something like this. Okay, well, yeah. If you're watching this on the weekend, enjoy whilst I'm at SlagCon. And I've heard having various new games, Shelf of Shame games from 5 years ago from Essen and stuff like that, may well be trying to play out. And there is a kind of a rolling, moving one involving horses, but from the 70s or 60s.
Totopoly?
No, it's called Win, Place, Show.
Okay.
And it's a very thin game, but the rating actually kind of increased actually since I got it. And it seems to be on those classic old school games, but apparently works really well. So it's not really about the rolling. I know there's long shots, which I haven't played yet, but that's something to consider. But yeah, for an hour and a half of video, I'm guessing people will definitely enjoy it over the weekend, whatever you're doing. So, okay, well, I'll end the broadcast. We can have a quick chat and just check how that works. So from Simon, back to the table.
See you later, guys.